He is the longest-serving member of the court in Texas history and the longest tenured Texas judge in active service. Throughout his service to the court, he's overseen revisions to the rules of administration, practice, and procedures in Texas courts. He was appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States to the Federal Advisory Committee on Civil Rules. He is also active in the court's efforts to assure that Texans living below the poverty level, as well as others with limited means, have access to basic civil legal rights. He is also the originator, along with Judge Hervey, of this commission. Thank you. Chief Justice Hicks.
Thanks very much, Christy. Thanks all of you for being here. We hope the meeting will be as inspirational as what you just heard and as educational, instructive, and collaborative as you will experience today and tomorrow. Judges are gatekeepers and stewards of the justice system. All who enter or leave must go through a judge, and while in the system are subject to judicial supervision. This is fundamental. We should punish wrongdoing, not disease. We should punish badness, not sickness. Judges are responsible for telling the difference, and so they must lead in seeking resources from the executive and legislature to train one another to recognize mental illness and disabilities when we see them, for treating mental illness and intellectual and developmental disabilities when they present in the courts, and for marshaling the resources to achieve just results to assure that justice is not just promised, but actually real. The importance of that is why the Supreme Court of Texas and the Court of Criminal Appeals of Texas partnered in 2018, for the first time ever, a partnership, to create this Judicial Commission on Mental Health. That commission has drawn more interest than all the other commissions and task forces that I've been involved in creating over the years. When we first announced its creation, many people called my chambers in Austin to insist on speaking with me to tell me that they wanted to volunteer their help, to be members, to be collaborators, to be supporters, to share their personal stories and why they are so passionate about the work of the Commission. Mental illness affects all of us. Of the more than 28 million Texans, about 1 million have serious mental illness. 76% of Texans, I'm told, have a close friend or family member who has experienced a mental health issue in their lives. And Texas is not alone. The National Center, the National Conference of Chief Justices, and the State Justice Institute have created an advisory committee to work with the National Center on State Courts on a three-year national initiative to improve the administration of justice for court-involved individuals with mental illness. And we are very hard at work already. I'm part of that, and next year in May, Texas will host that group in Austin for their first national meeting. So much is being accomplished. Many others are working on these issues as well, but there is much more still to do. And so appreciation of these issues and bringing attention to them is having an effect in other ways. Just in the last several years, the legal profession throughout the country has been focused on trying to ensure the wellness of lawyers under stress who suffer from depression and mental illness sometimes, and to help them recognize those situations and get assistance. And all of that, we're trying to, of course, remove the stigma that has sometimes been associated with mental illness. So the Supreme Court of Texas and the Court of Criminal Appeals are proud, and we are profoundly committed to the work of this commission. We want to see good processes developed, good practices that will help judges throughout the state handle cases that involve these issues. We stand ready to write rules and develop procedures to help courts grapple with the issues. We will seek legislation and funding as may be required to further the work of this commission and the issues that we are dealing with. And we pledge the full authority of the third branch of Texas to make progress on these very important issues that we face. So thank you for joining us in the work and for this being here at this second annual Judicial Summit on Mental Health. So proud of Christy and the staff. They've worked so hard. If you want to see passion and commitment in leadership, all you have to do is look at Christy and her staff, and you see that, and that's why we have such a showing here today. I also appreciate Judge Hervey co-chairing the commission, and my former colleague, Justice Jeff Brown, who was also a co-chair of the commission, and he has now left us for a federal bench in Galveston, and his replacement, our newest member, is Justice Jane Bland. There she is. Justice Bland was appointed on September 11th to our court by Governor Greg Abbott. She was on the Court of Appeals in Houston for 15 years and a district judge for 6 years. She practiced law for a little while in Baker Botts and was a law clerk for United States Circuit Judge Tom Gee. She graduated UT with honors, and then UT Law School with honors as well, first in her class. She's a member of the American Law Institute and the Supreme Court Rules Committee for many, many years. And in 2010, the National Center for State Courts awarded its William H. Rehnquist Award for Judicial Excellence to Jane. Each year, the National Center looks around the country for judges who have distinguished themselves in their work in their courts, and Jane was our pick in 2010. She's married to lawyer Doug, and they have 2 grown children, Daniel and Sarah. She is now our liaison to this group and its co-chair with Judge Hervey, and I'll ask Jane to come up and say a few words. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon. So this morning, the chief and I and members of the Supreme Court and the Court of Criminal Appeals were over at the Frank Erwin Center swearing in lawyers who were newly admitted to the bar, and sort of like renewing your wedding vows to be part of that ceremony. And the chief told those lawyers that they are now the voice and the instrument of the rule of law. And the people in this room are the voice and the instrument for this really important intersection of the law and mental health. And I look forward to joining my voice with yours to further our goal of improving our system of justice in this really important area. Going forward, the Commission has 3 goals for 2020. The first is to create legislative and rulemaking recommendations. A little over a month ago, the court signed 2 orders, one creating a task force for procedures related to mental health, and another a joint order with the Court of Criminal Appeals appointing the Commission's Legislative Research Committee. Both the task force and the Legislative Research Committee are already underway and will be meeting next month. They're due to make recommendations to the Texas Judicial Council in June and December of next year, and from there, hopefully, we will have meaningful legislative proposals to work with going forward for the legislative session. Second, the Commission will continue its efforts toward judicial and attorney education on mental health through our bench book, another annual summit, and a coordinated campaign for support for judges with tools and resources for every level of the judiciary, because obviously mental health affects every aspect of the parties and people that are in our courts. And finally, the Commission will promote leadership in the area of mental health through technical assistance to Texas courts, including facilitating sequential intercept mapping workshops, sharing best practices, and encouraging the creation of mental health courts and dockets. So those are some lofty goals for 2020. I look forward to joining my voice with everybody here in this room and to working on these important goals for our commission and for our state's judiciary.